Hey, good evening, everybody. Alan Slaughter-Zinski for the Brevard Sports Network coming at you tonight from Studio B in the lovely downtown Melbourne studios. Want to talk to you. First of all, apologize for being 10 minutes late here. You know, we're never really on time with anything, and if you know me, well, that's understandable. We are going to be running a two-part series tonight. First of all, I'm happy to announce a new agreement with Ubrzati. As we will continue our partnership, we have signed a new agreement with Ubrzati through the end of the fall sports season, which means that the Thursday night Ubrzati preview, high school football preview show will be back in the fall, and we will have a lot of good stuff on tap for you. If you've been to Ubrzati, then you know what it can do for your program. About 10 days ago, Caleb and I went over to Ubrzati, and we met with 5 coaches from 3 different sports, from lacrosse, from football, and from track and field. From football, we met with Lyle Naber from the Melbourne Bulldogs and Adam Franco from 7v7 Beachside and the Cocoa Tigers. We also met with Titusville Track coach Rod Ray. And then we did, from another sport perspective, lacrosse. We met with Tyler Oblong from Big Wave Lacrosse and Bob Nunn from Viera Lacrosse. And how Ubrzati and their scientifically developed protocols that have evolved over the last 20-plus years, plus their new Z-Tread and all of the programs that they institute there for speed, agility, and endurance have helped their programs and their student athletes. Tonight, you're going to see part 1 of that, and it's going to have Coach Lyle Naber, Coach Adam Franco, and Coach Rod Ray. So without further ado, here is part 1 of our sit-down with the coaches that take their programs to Ubrzati to utilize what is a magnificent, scientifically developed set of protocols. Well, as promised, right here up first, because, well, he won the coin toss, and why wouldn't he? He also won a state championship this year in high school football. Please help us welcome the first 3 coaches here that are going to talk to us today about Ubrzati. Please welcome, from, if you look on your screen, from left to right, it'll be Lyle Naber from Melbourne. It'll be Adam Franco from Cocoa Football. And it will be Rob Ray from Titusville Track. And Coach Naber, just real quick, real briefly, give us a little synopsis of your experience and a little bit about you.
All right, cool. I grew up in the area, went to Palm Bay High and MCC, was on a backup quarterback on the 2002 state championship team. Went off and played a little bit of college football. Came back, coached at Florida Air Academy for a couple of years, and then I made my way to college football, coached at Catawba College for 4 years, and then FIT for 2. And then I was at Bayside for a couple of years, Palm Bay High for a couple of years, and now Melbourne.
So pretty qualified.
Yes, sir.
Florida Air had a football team?
Way back when, yeah, 2005 to 2008 or something like that.
I have to talk to you about that. That's interesting. Coach Adam Franco, the guy that won the coin toss for his group here, to go first. A little bit about your background.
Yeah, I grew up in South Florida, went to American Heritage, was the first team that went to a state championship. We lost my senior year. They won the year after for the first one ever. And then I went to college at U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, played college football there. Spent 7 years in the Marine Corps as infantry officer, a couple combat deployments to Afghanistan, transitioned out, ended up moving down back to this area for my regular job, which I work at Wabtec, used to be G Transportation, doing train automation. And I met Ryan Schneider. He was the OC at MCC at the time. Went over as his receiver coach, and then when he got the head job at Cocoa, I went there with him, and we're going up on our 6th year now.
Coach Ray?
Hey, Coach Ray. I'm originally from South Carolina. I went to South Carolina State for 1 year, then enlisted to the Air Force. Went to the Air Force, walked onto an indoor professional football team.
Nice.
At the time, I could run a 4.23, but can't do that now. Had to resign because I was actually active duty.
Gotcha.
So went there, Air Force, and then got out, started my own company. I own an aerospace engineering company. We do a lot of analytical breakdowns, design microchips, that kind of thing. And I've been coaching in the community for about 20 years in Tampa, and then moved to this side in 2004, and been coaching at Titusville for about 6-7 years.
Gotcha. Well, thank you all for your service to our country. Certainly much appreciated. Coach Ray, I want to start with you because I know why football comes to Ubrzati. And I find it absolutely fascinating, that track. And you're not the only one, not the only track team that comes here, for those that don't know. There are so many different methods to training track and field participants. Why was the decision made to bring your program here to Ubrzati?
I believe just the science of running. Okay, if you understand from a basics perspective of the science and the breakdown of how to run in a great running form, I think that can transition to any sport, especially from receivers, defensive backs, linebacker. If you know how to flip your hips, you have quick agility in your feet, you know how to move, you know the whole kinesiology of how the whole form of running is.
Right.
And this is what they really hark upon. They really perfect how to run properly. And if you know how to run properly, then that's the basics for any type of skill position.
How did you have to sell anybody at the school? Did you have to convince your student athletes that this was something that the program needed to try? And if so, how did you do that?
It's one of those of transforming a culture, because I know the demographic that I deal with. You don't have this type of opportunity, even from a training perspective or anything. So just breaking it down and showing them this is the proof in the pudding. And part of the showing them how it works is just bringing them and say, hey, this was your speed before Ubrzati. This is your speed and time after. Any questions?
No, I think that's well stated. Coach, we'll be back to you in just a second, because I know that you are winding down your track season, so I'm interested to see how all of this worked out. Coach Franco, you are really one of the first ones in the community to really whistle the praises of Ubrzati. From the first day I believe you walked in here, you and I have had many conversations about what happens here and the benefits of it. But tell me how you first found out about Ubrzati and what brought you here.
Yeah, I actually think it might have been like an Instagram or like a TikTok post that just showed up on my screen. I looked up where they were. I found out they were here. And at one point, right next door, there was like a Control Results was kind of like a CrossFit gym at the time. And I knew some people that went there. And then we started looking into it. And it was OJ Ross that really we kind of were like, hey, this is something I think you need to go try out. OJ was elite quickness, and we thought OJ had elite speed until OJ came to Ubrzati, and then we saw OJ with real elite speed in his senior year, and we used to joke around, knees are up, goodbye.
Right.
And that was what it was. OJ always had quick twitch.
Juice man.
Always was extremely fast his whole life, and I wonder how many other kids don't know how to correct just the smallest little thing in their form that unlocks an entire another gear. So that's why when I saw it happen with OJ, and I saw the process, and OJ is a professional. He is going to grind and fix every little thing. When I saw OJ, what he had to go through to try to fix his form and praise it, that's why I immediately pivoted and said, our 10U beachside team is going to train here. And we're going to catch this upstream and not try to fix all of this when you show up on our doorstep for high school football. And now every default answer is go run track. Track serves an extremely good purpose if you know how to run.
Right.
If you have mechanical issues, it's hard to fix all your mechanics in track in a single season.
Right.
Track serves a purpose, and you'll get faster, especially if you're under Coach Folston.
Right.
But the young kids, if we can catch them early.
And Coach Ray.
Well, I'm going with my guy. I know. But I think that's the big part why you see our 10U team was here. This year we had like 35 kids that trained here during our season from January to this past weekend. So
Let me push back for a minute on the 10U team. All right, I'm a parent, and today's society. And look, I'm not sugarcoating anything. We see this all the time. 10U's too young, Coach. You shouldn't be having these kids over here. Their bodies aren't fully developed. Why do you got these kids on this treadmill? Don't know if you've ever heard it, but I'm sure that, with the way society is today, it's not far off. So what would you say to those people?
I mean, it's the same thing about kids that lift. The kids lifting weights going to stunt their growth.
Right.
I mean, I joke around. My son's not going to be tall. I'm not tall. I'm like, what are they going to do? Take another half inch? He's already going to be a midget. So. I mean, I think there's so much fake. Not to say fake news, but there's so much like mischaracterization. I mean, he's probably forgotten more about running than I know.
Right.
But he's on a lifelong learning process.
Right.
There's people that think I graduated and I'm done learning, and the way I did it in high school is the way I'll have to always teach everybody because I had success. That doesn't translate for everybody.
Coach Naber, listen, Coach Ray's got the speedsters and all at Titusville. Coach Franco, he's got they call them, what do they call them? The skill position players, right? The wide receivers, the backs, the quarterbacks. But you've brought the big guys,
Yes, sir.
in here. Now, I've seen some of those videos of these guys bent over with their hands on their knees and gasping for air. First question I want to ask you is, how was the turnout when you let me backtrack.
Yeah.
What was the response from the big guys when you said, we're going to Ubrzati?
Yeah, no, actually, it was a pretty welcome response. We already had one guy that kind of did some stuff up here in James Hines, and I came up here for their little Christmas party thing, and we got to talking, and then I came up again a week later, and we talked about, and kind of gearing it towards big guys, and we went about it. The big guys came out. We got 10, 13 guys a week that show up, and the results – I think speak for themselves. One of our biggest guys, he has improved immensely just in his footwork. It's been great.
How do they do that? And I know the science of the tread.
Yeah.
But it's a process.
Yeah,
Talk about that and how they've adapted to it and how you've seen them get better.
For sure. So yeah, like you said, it's not just the treads. The treads are awesome. I love it when they do the hamster runs and stuff like that, because that's usually when, the guys are laid out on the floor afterwards. But they do other things with the lights and reaction, and we'll get into a kick slide, and then they got to react when the light comes on, and they got to sprint and touch the light. The jumping, they work on the science of jumping and explosion. So all of it has been great for the big guys, and I'm super excited to see what they're going to do and how they move come May 1st is when we start spring practice.
Yeah, and I was going to say, you're actually going to get an opportunity to see that come to fruition a little bit coming up in the spring. All right, Coach Ray, back to you. What would you say, when did you begin your training here at Ubrzati?
Probably 3 years ago.
Okay.
A lot of you don't know, but I was the defensive coordinator at Titusville.
Right.
New regime came in, new people. So I was asked to be the track coach. So in about 3 years ago, I'm going to talk about a person specific, Lamarion Martin.
Oh, yeah.
He used to run, he's a senior this year at Titusville. But prior to that, he was a 12-2 guy, 11-8. And then this past Thursday, he was the number one person in the 100-meter. He ran a 10.96.
Wow.
And that is all form and explosiveness. And when you're under 11, that's where form comes in.
Right.
Because then to start, you're just tweaking technique things, getting out of the block, running form, high knees, and that kind of stuff. And he is motivated to get even faster, and he has the keys and the principles and the basics because of, programs like Ubrzati, well, I'll say specifically Ubrzati, who taught him just that muscle memory of, okay, knees up, arms forward, that kind of stuff. So I believe that starting young as soon as possible, especially for this type of running form, teaching, is great. I think is at any age that a child could actually understand what they're doing.
You told us about one of the results there collectively as a team. What have you seen?
I've seen confidence,
Okay.
because a lot of kids don't understand why they do something.
Right.
And
Great point.
I think as a coach, what makes you a great coach is being able to articulate teaching principles to kids so that they understand. Because a lot of people know a whole lot of stuff, but if the kid doesn't understand it and it doesn't make sense to them, it's hard for them to process it. And I believe that by showing them the proof is in the pudding, where you bring them here, you're this fast, now you're that fast, now you're this much faster. With kids, it's kind of like you have to show them, and I think that that's one of the things that I see here.
I think that's well said, Coach Franco. Obviously, Brevard Sports Network has covered both Melbourne and Cocoa a lot over the last couple of years. I've seen the results on the field, but specifically outside of OJ, can you give us an example of one or two players maybe that didn't want to come here, did come here, and are so glad that they did?
Yeah, I think I got, all four of my receivers that are coming back this year all were voluntold. You need to go to
Voluntold.
Yeah. If you look at it, right, there's certain things that will just be a knock on you. If you actually have the aspiration to go be a Division I athlete, right, you have to have elite speed and all the other, stuff that they check off. But the reality is about a wide receiver, they care about your 40, but they also care how you maintain speed through breaks, how fast you can get in and out of your break, right? And I look at a guy like Nicky Teeter. He's going to be a junior for us next year, absolute stud. And he was like, what do I got to go to do be D1? I said, Nicky, you're 5'9". You could have not one thing that can be a knock. There's maybe one guy that looks like you in every single college wide receiver room. I'm like, you need to have elite speed. And when you get in and out of your breaks, they can't see you even have a break. It has to be just completely smooth. I'm like, you'll get some of that at track. I'm like, but you have stuff you need to fix in your form. And I'm like, and you need some of your lateral agility stuff to be corrected. And I'm like, we'll help you with that. If you don't go to Ubrzati, we'll still train you. But are you investing and making the decisions in the off season that are going to ultimately lead to you being D1?
It's different from when we were all student athletes, isn't it? Because we could go to practice. Yeah, we could put in a little extra time, but it was nothing like it is today. The competitive nature of recruiting almost requires Ubrzati, doesn't it?
It's not that I don't say that it requires it. If Ubrzati existed, if these camps existed, I think if you talk to most coaches that played back then, we would all have been at them too.
Yeah, no, you're right.
The problem was
that's a good point, too. I think you're right. Yeah.
The internet didn't exist.
Well, I don't think I
Finding this type of stuff.
Go ahead.
You're a lazy pocket passing quarterback. Which we're waiting to find film one day. Caleb's still on the hunt.
Converting VHS.
Yeah. But I think that's a big part of it is that these are out there. So it's no longer are you putting in the work in the weight room, are you putting in the work in the field? Where else are you actually going to fix your deficiencies and do you have a coach that's willing to sit you down, look you in the face and say, I know your mom's been telling you you're fast your whole life. Go Timmy, go. Go. You're not fast.
Right.
You're not college D1 fast yet.
Nope.
You need to work on it.
Yep.
And you might feel you're fast right now in flashes in games, but you're not consistently fast. You can't run every route 100% every snap.
I think track is the reality of that once they run it and they line up mano, imano, next to one another for, 100 meters down that track. You realize you ain't nowhere near as fast as you thought you were. Yeah. How do you, Coach, deal with the psychology of a student athlete that thinks there's something special and then gets on that track and finishes fifth? What do you tell them?
Well, here's the thing. Xavier Holmes, okay? Lamarion beat Xavier Holmes out at the district.
Right.
Xavier Holmes is a 10-6, 10-7 guy.
His brothers at Florida State,
exactly.
yeah.
he had a bad day at the track.
Sure.
Okay. And Lamarion knows that, hey, you know what? I'm going to take advantage of this as much as possible because I know Xavier is going to come back at regionals and he's going to come for me.
Right.
But developing that competitive edge.
Right.
That's what it's about.
That's what it teaches.
It teaches that. And then, Xavier is already a great guy he's all around.
Right.
But for Lamarion to come to Ubrzati and understand the keys and the principle of how to run fast, it makes it that much more interesting because now they can have a pure battle.
Right.
Because both of them have great form, great speed. And, it's going to be interesting at regionals between Coco and Titusville.
Yeah, no, I'm excited
so
about that. I really am
good.
looking forward to see how that pans out. Coach Naber, my question for you is, obviously, the skill position guys are going to come down here. What is the feedback you're getting? And I know these kids are honest these days, right? What is the feedback you're getting from their time here at Ubrzati?
Oh, most of our kids love it, man.
Really?
Yeah. They enjoy coming up here. They come up here and, they're excited to go to work. I have not one bad thing at all said anything like that. They're excited to get up here. They're excited to work. They're like, hey, coach, if we're, can we leave at 5:45 to get here so we can get early to start our pre-stretch and everything else? And
so they want to come.
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
How does it work for your program? Like, lacrosse is interesting, and I'm going to talk to Coach Nunn about the way he does it. But how does it work? How many times a week do you ask them to come?
We're coming once a week.
Okay.
So our big guys are coming. They come on Wednesdays, and then we have a few skill guys that are coming on Thursdays.
All right, we're gonna wrap this up, and this is gonna be the final question, but it's gonna be the same for all of you. Okay, and Coach, we're gonna start with you, Coach Naber. We're gonna start with you. Tell me, sell me on why Ubrzati needs to be the place. Whether you're a lineman, a track star, what do you tell the parents? Why does a program need Ubrzati?
I think the proof is in the results that we're getting right now. In our 8 weeks with the big guys, not one person did not improve, right? Like they all improved. Everybody improved. And that's from ground speed to the broad jump, everything. One of our kids improved like 8 inches on the broad jump, which is pretty crazy in my opinion. Just in 8 weeks.
inches?
Yeah.
Wow.
He
big guy.
Yeah. Well, he's a medium-sized guy.
Okay. That's all right, still.
Yeah. He helps us out on the offensive line. He plays guard, so he's a medium-sized guy. You know what I mean? And, Ty Field, who's up there at the top of the board right there, one of our skill guys, he came in his first time, set the ground speed record, and then last time just reset it again at 23 mile an hour.
Wow.
He set it at 22 miles an hour when he first got here and then set it again. So
do they all come in and first thing they do is look at that board?
Oh, yeah, Ty does, definitely.
No doubt.
Most definitely.
No doubt. Coach Franco, tell me why Ubrzati is what a football team needs to do.
Well, we just do it so everyone can come in and see we have 4 names on the board. That's the only reason. Only reason we're here. We got to win every aspect. We win if we go to the bathroom. It doesn't matter. We got to win.
That's Adam Franco.
No.
We coming.
For sure. But that's it though. It's all a competition, right?
I think the thing that Ubrzati offers is, I don't coach high school 7-on-7 in the off season for a reason. I need a break from the high school guys, and they need a break from their coach.
Right.
A lot of guys go from football season to the basketball season to the track season. It's the same coach.
Right.
And that's just the nature of high school sports in Florida. The way we pay, and you get a certain number of guys that are committed. Most track coaches are football coaches also.
Right.
And I think Ubrzati offers a supplement to whatever your in-season conditioning strength program is. And that's our requirement at Coco.
Okay.
You could go do and train anywhere you want and do anything you want if you let us know what you're doing and, you have your buy-in, our buy-in, and your parents' buy-in. But it does not excuse you from our team conditioning.
Right.
Right? Because we need to see you and get our pulse. But there's kids that have certain specialty things they need to work on. Ryder Veras, he came to me and said, "What do I got to do to get better?" I said, "It's in and out of your breaks, man. That's where you got good straight line speed and you lose it coming out of your break." And he said, I'm going to go talk to different people. He came back to me, had a whole plan, Ubrzati, how he was going to work the off season. And I saw him at 7-on-7 last weekend. He looked great, and Javen Boggs, he knew his even though he had a great season last year, the knock was he doesn't look elite speed on film, right? So he busted his button here, put his name on the board, right? Nicky Teeter, we talked about him and what he had to do. CJ Bragg is another one. I said, CJ, you need to have no knocks anywhere. He had an in-house visit with Air Force where they offered him, and it was purely because of the times he posted at Rivals Camp.
Wow.
Where they were like, whoa, hey, where'd this kid come from?
Right.
And that was, a lot of his Ubrzati training. And he's also running track. So
Well,
he's
but they can
building
see
his
the
engine at
difference,
track,
yeah.
fixing his form here. I mean, it's a good synergy.
Coach, I'll just switch it up a little different. You've been coming here for a while, and so I think, you've already spoke to the results, which I think the fact that a track and field coach is here with team sells anybody. So what I'm going to ask you about is what makes the staff here so special? Why is the Ubrzati staff so good?
Because I only know what I know.
Right.
I don't know what I don't know.
Right.
And so, yes, I know a lot of key running principles, and, I can pretty much start a track program and get you where you need to be eventually. But why, when this is a great supplement to any
Move that up just. Yep.
Why, when this is a great supplemental program to add to any training program that you have?
Right.
And so, just to piggyback on Coach Franco, it's like it's a great safe haven because they're going to get great instruction from a great staff that know what they're talking about.
No
and
doubt.
The passion transfers to the kid. We have a sophomore, Ralph Smith, sophomore. He's probably going to go to state in long jump and possibly triple jump, and he is a Ubrzati kid.
Right.
And so it's one of the things. Again, the proof is in the pudding, and you can see the results from a distance and a time perspective.
No doubt. This will conclude part one of our sit down with the coaches that bring their programs here on to Ubrzati. Coming up tomorrow night, we're going to switch sides and go to the lacrosse part of the equation where we talk to Bob Nunn and Tyler Oblong. So for Adam Franco, Lyle Naber, and Coach Rob Ray, I'm Alan Slaughter-Zinski for the Brevard Sports Network.